All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-through. Moving on with 6-6. Special shout-out to the snow. We got to get a snow day. I mean, it was just, anyone else out in the snow? Just a little bit of snow that we got last night. It was beautiful, but not nearly enough. It was great. And we need more. We got to get a snow day out of this thing. Okay. Hey, this is yet another algebra lesson where if you don't have confidence or if you get intimidated by the notation, then you'll look at this and say, oh, I can't do this. But really, this is not that big of a deal at all. Okay? All I have to do is explain to you what the heck these words mean. So, if you remember, like we said, f of x is like a machine. And we called it a little function machine. Okay? And you put an x in to the top. And then, so for the first one, this is f of x. So when it gets put in there, the machine does something to it, and then it spits out an answer. And what makes it a function is that every time you spit in an input, it will have to give you the exact same output, okay? And that means it passes the vertical line test. We've done things like this. So today, we're just making it a little complex. Essentially, when you see this right here, our machine changes. And all it changes to is f plus g of x. That's the same thing as f of x plus g of x. Okay? So all we have to do is write this as 4x plus 7 plus radical x plus x, and then use our skills from 5-5 or 6-5 to remember how to combine these like terms. So this is a 1x, so our final answer is 5x plus radical x plus 7. Meaning, just remember that we want to go highest to lowest with our powers, and we always want to finish with our constant. That's it. That's all we're doing, okay? In the next slide, I'll show you we'll be putting in numbers and finding what the answers are, but that's not that hard either. Okay, so I'll color change here. F minus g of x. And when you're talking to your neighbors and helping each other, I really do recommend that you say that word, because I think some people might think this is like f minus g times x, because it looks like f minus g times x, but it's not. It's the x function in terms of f minus the g function in terms of x. So we do almost the exact same thing here, 4x plus 7. But here's where you got to be a little careful, because a very common mistake would be minus radical x plus x, and that would be wrong, because we have to subtract the whole thing, and then we got to distribute that negative over. Okay? So that's a negative radical x minus x, and now that's a negative 1 and a 4, so the final answer will be 3x minus radical x plus 7. So far, so good? Yes. Well, yes. I mean, I could have put parentheses in when I was adding. The question was, do we only need the parentheses when we're subtracting? No, I mean, I guess yes, we only need them when we're subtracting. I could have put those in, but it wouldn't have affected the problem at all. Okay? Good question. All right, so let's see. So f times g of x is the same thing as f of x, and I won't write this out every time, times g of x. Whoops. I should have changed colors. I'll do that now. So we get 4x plus 7 times radical x plus x. And now you can see how this relates to what we just got done studying. Okay, so now we have to FOIL. 4x times radical x. Ooh. I'm just going to write that like this. 4x radical x. Okay? That's a fine way to write it. And then if maybe we'll write it in, actually, that's fine. We're going to go on. 4x times x is 4x squared. Okay? 7 times radical x is 7 radical x. And 7 times x is 7x. And I don't think any of those are like terms. So now we just have to rewrite them from highest to lowest. So 4x squared plus 4x radical x plus 7 radical x. I guess I could factor out an x. That's what I'll do. No, I can't factor out an x. Plus 7x. Okay? And we'll just leave it like that. And then finally, f divided by g of x will be, let's see, 4x plus 7 divided by x plus radical x. Okay? And it'd be nice if we could just leave it like that, but we can't. So we've got to multiply by the conjugate. Okay? And that is radical x minus. Very good. All right, so on the top, 4x times radical x is just 4x radical x. Outside, 4x minus x is minus 4x squared. Inside, plus 7 radical x. And last, minus 7x. And on the bottom, you'll get, let's see, radical x times radical x is radical x squared. What's radical x squared? It's just x. Very good. And then you'll get this little thing where you do a minus x radical x and then a plus x radical x. And that's the whole point of multiplying by the conjugate, is that those two terms cancel and it gets rid of our radicals in the denominator. So then you get an x times negative x is a negative x squared. So the answer, I'm going to rewrite the top in order. Negative 4x squared plus 4x radical x minus 7x plus 7 radical x all over negative x squared plus x. So that's pretty tough. Okay? All right, one more example, and then I'll turn you loose on your homework. Oh, shoot. State the domain. This is important. This is important. So once you get to the end, the domain, so you got these things called domain and range. Okay? So I've consistently gotten these things confused throughout my math career. There's two ways to remember them, okay? And this will be important on your ACT. There'll be 5 questions out of 60 on your ACT that'll involve domain and range. Not 5. How about 2 or 3? But still, enough that you should listen. The domain is possible x. And the range is possible y. So how do you keep that track? Just go by alphabetical order. D, R, X, Y. Another way to think about it is domain are what values am I allowed to input, and range is what values will I get for an output. And nicely, once again, that is in alphabetical order. They all line up alphabetically. So you can think about it in terms of domain range, x, y, or input-output. Okay, so we are only focusing on the domain here. So for the red equation right here, what are we not allowed to put in for x? It's totally okay if you don't know. Some of you might. There's a couple rules in math. One is that we cannot divide by 0. And another one is that we cannot take the square root of a negative number. Okay? So for this one, you'd say x has to be bigger than 0. Okay? X can be 0. You could put in a 0 for x. You get a 7. But x cannot be negative, so we just write it. This is the domain. Okay? For the second one, same thing. X has to be bigger than 0. Third one, same thing. Fourth one, can x be 0? You cannot. So not only can x not be negative because you can't put it in here, but it can't be 0 because you'll get a 0 on the bottom, which is another rule. So for this one, x has to be greater than, hold on, I've had it wrong the whole time. It's good, it's all right. This one, x is greater than 0. The other three, is that what you're going to tell me, Lexi? Thank you. X is greater than or equal to 0. X is greater than or equal to 0. I said it right and got my notation wrong. Thank you. Okay? All right, one more. Okay, so now we're just doing, like, it seems like another example, but the difference here is now we want f of g of 10. Sorry, f divided by g of 10. Not a big deal. We're just going to find f of x divided by g of x. Okay? And then we're just going to put in a 10. That's all we're going to do. Okay? We also have to find the domain again. So here we go. Oh, shoot. I couldn't. This is supposed to be an x squared minus 9. Yes? Yes. We're going to put in a 10 for x. Now let me tell you. The equation is x squared minus 9 over x plus 3. Okay? If you just wrote that for your answer, you would be right. You would not possibly get all of the credit right, but you would still be right. Okay? We can just simplify this. But so before we go on and simplify it, let's get our domain. What's our domain? X, let's see. Well, can we put in a negative 1? Yes, we can, because what do we get? Well, we can put in almost everything. What's the only thing we cannot put in? Negative 3. If we put in negative 3, it'll give us 0 on the bottom. Does that make sense? So x can be anything but negative 3, and that's how we write that. Okay? F divided by g of 10 equals, what's 10 squared? And what's 100 minus 9? 91. And what's 10 plus 3? Can somebody put that in their calculator and just see if that's a nice, easy number? It might be 7. That's what I thought. Okay? So that is f divided by g of 10. Now, let me show you what really they want. Can anyone factor the top? Nope, you don't need to multiply by conjugate. You're just looking for two numbers. There you go, Island. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 9 and add to be 0. And that's x minus 3 times x plus 3 all over x plus 3. Wabam, wabam. It's x minus 3. And then that would have been a lot easier to put our 10 into that. So you see how that works? It all works out. Okay? If you put in f of g of 10, you put in a 10 here, 10 minus 3, it still gets you to 7. So that's how it works. You could have done it either way, okay? And that's it for the relatively too long of a video. Have a great Thursday. Boom!